Just so in case some of you might notice, I am wearing gloves. I'm doing this because my hands are incredibly dry, cracked, and splitting from all of the hand washing that I've been doing. So what I do is I put a ton of lotion on my hands, and then I put on the gloves, so that means I can still wash my hands without washing off all of the moisturizer. So if you see these during our review, that's why they're there.
Hey everybody, welcome back to our channel, We're the Movie Couple. I'm Wendy.
I'm Dustin.
And in this video, we're going to be talking about Clone Wars, the final season, and we're going to just kind of give our overall review on what we've seen so far, which means season 7, episode 1 through 7.
Yes.
So far.
So not the final season, because that doesn't come out yet.
This is the final season of Clone Wars.
What? No, oh, final season. I thought you said... For some reason, I heard final episode.
Maybe I said that. Who knows?
No, you didn't.
Oh, okay.
You said final season.
I was like, maybe. Sometimes I say things weird.
I'm a doofus.
So, we are going to be covering spoilers in this video. So, if you are not caught up with Clone Wars yet, then I would suggest you bookmark this video, come back later. When you're all caught up, it'll still be here, and then you can watch it then. So, you have been fairly warned, and we're going to go ahead and kick off our review with episode 1 through 4 because this is something really interesting that they were doing with the final season of Clone Wars is that they're giving us, you know, in a sense like we think four episode story arcs.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because the first 4 episodes were all one story arc with the Bad Batch. Mm-hmm. And then the next one seems like we're on episode 7 and we're still going to continue. We know that this story arc's still going to continue because they kind of left you on a cliffhanger.
Yes, so they'd have to finish it, or otherwise it would kind of have a weird, abrupt, unfinished ending.
Yeah.
But episodes 1 through 4... I actually really ended up liking. We got to see the Bad Batch, who are clone troopers with a desirable mutation, is what they're calling it.
So, in other words, they're kind of like super-powered stormtroopers.
Or they're not like... They have very interesting specific traits, individual traits. I compare it to like watching them fight with Rex and everybody else kind of working together. It's kind of in a way watching the Magnificent Seven and how they work, where everybody has their own little specialty that they bring to the team and kind of helps, them do their missions. What I really found interesting was that they focused the first 4 episodes more so on the clone troopers than they did on the Jedi.
Yeah, and I thought that was kind of weird too, because one of the things that I've really been wanting to see in this season is a lot more character building with maybe Anakin, Obi-Wan, maybe even a little bit of Mace Windu, and of course Ahsoka. And for the first 4 episodes...
No Ahsoka.
There's no Ahsoka whatsoever. And even like the first 2 episodes, there's really not much of the Jedi at all.
No, not really. I mean, we got a glimpse of Anakin in the later episodes for the Bad Batch story arc, and what I really liked seeing was his conversation with Padme. And you thought it was cool?
I liked it too. I was like, oh, this is a nice little touch to put in there.
And I like that they had Rex as kind of like a lookout person, and then when Obi-Wan came, was like, well, what's Anakin doing? This is weird. And Obi-Wan knew what was happening. I felt like he just kind of tried to give Rex a hard time just because he could.
Yeah.
Because later, when Anakin came out of that and kind of threw Rex's helmet back at him, like, oh, here you go. I fixed it. Whatever problem was. And Obi-Wan said something along the lines of, hope you tell Padme I said hello. But that look that Anakin gave Obi-Wan was just like, ooh, it's a secret you're not supposed to know. Keep it on the DL. So that was kind of an interesting glimpse into that part.
And also, yeah, it kind of gives them a little bit more to look into their relationship and why they were such good friends. And, Obi-Wan did keep his secret kind of a thing. Yeah. So I liked that little aspect. And I kind of wanted more of that. Yeah. But we didn't really get very much of that in the first series of story, in that first story arc. Then we got to episode 5.
That's the first one with Ahsoka. And this is Ahsoka after she leaves the Jedi Order. We're not sure how much time it has left, I feel like her head tails have grown a little bit longer.
Yeah, she does look a little older.
Since she's, like, initially walked away from Anakin, but she goes to the lower parts of Coruscant and she crash lands literally into the Martez sisters, Trace and Rafa, who... at first I thought was, like, kind of endearing and cute and interesting because, like, Ahsoka kind of got to have, you know, form a connection with someone else who's not Anakin or Obi-Wan or Yoda or anybody like that. And also trying to keep her identity as a former Jedi a secret.
Secret, yeah. And to find out also that not everyone on Coruscant sees the Jedi the same way that Ahsoka thought that everyone saw the Jedi was really interesting. And I liked the character building in this first episode. I thought it was really cool to see the two sisters and the fact that Ahsoka got along with one of them, but not the other. And I thought this would be like a really cool story to kind of tell, that Ahsoka leaves because she doesn't want to separate the two sisters, even though she doesn't disagree. Even though she agrees with one and disagrees with the other, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
She's like, it's not my place to become in between you. And then she left. And then she goes on to another person that she has another kind of growth, like a character growth with.
Yeah, that's initially what I thought. But as we can see, we're still on that arc as of right now. And it's really, really developed because she's almost disagreeing with what Rafa is doing when Rafa, and I can see both sides. Rafa is literally just trying to survive. She knows, I think, deep down in her heart, these aren't the jobs that she should be taking and involving her sister in. But, like, they need money or credits to survive, and what else is there to do in the lower parts of Coruscant? And one of the most interesting part in, I think it was episode 6, was they actually got to go to Kessel, and they got spice, and I know Dustin and I were screaming because they got into this, Ahsoka and Rafa got into this huge argument over the spice and how she shouldn't be working for the Pikes. You can't trust them. You know, you complete one job, you're just going to get stuck in this cycle of, like, working for the gangster. You're never going to get out, and this and that. And it was interesting to kind of see them go into Kessel because I thought, oh, are we gonna maybe see Ahsoka do the Kessel Run?
Yeah.
In 12 parsecs or less?
I thought there was going to be, like, at least some kind of reference to that, or a little, I mean, but honestly, they just kind of laid it flat and let it glaze over. They kind of just threw that in there for a, what is that, for, like, fan service. That's the word I'm looking for.
Which I'm fine with, but I thought it would have been cool to kind of see how cool, either, you know, to see Ahsoka's flying skills because we know she's a great pilot, or maybe see Trace take that on and be like, wow, you know, that girl's got it in her, and maybe she can be a recruiter for the rebellion. So there was this, that was all, like, in our heads, and that's what we were thinking. That's not really what we got because Ahsoka and Rafa got into an argument, which meant Trace to innocently wanting to stop the argument. Her heart was in the right place, but she doesn't really understand the gravity of the situation. She decided to dump the spice, which freaked out Ahsoka and Rafa, which now dug him into a much deeper hole, and now they're stuck in jail at the Pikes. But the interesting thing that I got out of that, when they were in their jail cell talking, was Rafa finally, or maybe it was Trace, I can't remember which sister it was, but they finally opened up about their life and why they thought of the Jedi in this way was because they actually had an encounter where a gangster, a very famous one, crash landed into them, and the Jedi was chasing after them, and that caused one of the aircrafts to crash through the Martez's home. The sisters got out, the parents did not. So that changed their entire view on the Jedi, because the Jedi in a dark robe, green skin, and penetrating eyes, immediately I was like, ooh, if that's not Luminara or Barris, I don't know who. Because that's that's the two Jedi.
I have to go back and watch the movie, or watch that scene.
Oh my god, go
from
all the way
Clone Wars. Yeah, that's in Clone Wars.
That's like season 5, maybe?
No, I think that's like season 2.
Cad Bane?
Yeah,
before we
Cad
get into
Bane.
that,
but anyways,
yes, that was mentioned. So I think it's Luminara. It could be Barris, but I feel like it's Luminara's older.
Yeah.
And has maybe more of that presence, but she basically said to her, like, hey, sorry, but, you know, it happens, right?
The Force will be with you.
Yeah, it's as young girls who just lost their home and parents, that's not the most comforting thing, especially because it's not like the Jedi came back and like checked on them and helped them out and gave them supplies. It's kind of like, oh, sorry.
And this and I don't even think that the Jedi would have done that. They wouldn't have just left the 2 kids there.
I don't know.
I think they would have done something. But
they were so young. Like, what can they remember? It's all traumatizing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I know what you're about to get into, and it's when Rafa said they were chasing a gangster named Zero, and there was a red-eyed alien with them, and I was like, oh my god, they're talking about Zero the Hutt and Cad Bane, and just like everything just crossed over for me right there and then, and I was so happy to kind of hear that.
I like the fact that they tied that back in too, and I'm really excited because I'm hoping that sooner or later since they're bringing Ahsoka into the Mandalorian,
Woo!
I'm hoping maybe they'll also bring in Cad Bane. Because that would be awesome.
What I wouldn't give to see Cad Bane again. Oh my god, he's like one of the coolest looking guys ever. With that said, the final, the latest episode 7, was the most action-packed, I would say, in the Ahsoka arc so far, because they were trying to escape the Pike. So we really got to see Ahsoka using her Jedi powers again, and using the Force, but we're still trying to keep it on the DL. But we also saw some Mandalorians that are kind of like, that's not our target, and they're kind of like, well, she could be helping our mission along. So we don't know who they are. Well, we don't. Maybe you do. If you do, put that in the comments section
I think
below.
they are the Death Watch. I'm not 100% sure because I couldn't really recognize the helmets because they were also underneath hoods. But I have a feeling that it's the Death Watch that Ahsoka worked with to try and take down Maul.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. That's a good tie-in.
So I'm excited to see maybe a little bit of that tie-in. I do have to admit, though, a lot of these episodes did kind of feel like filler episodes. They had moments in there that I liked, and they had moments in there that I'm like, okay, this is some cool action, but for the most part, I'm kind of like, I want to get to the meat and potatoes of this series, of this show.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's so much of this story that I'm just sitting there kind of like, okay, are we going to actually move forward? Are we actually going to keep telling a different story, or, get to the parts that we really want to see? And I was really upset that at this very last episode, we ended up in the exact same spot.
They're back in jail. What happened?
Nothing happened. Pretty much,
It's like they walked in a circle.
Yeah, and now I'm like, okay, well, you now have blown half of your season, and we haven't really gotten to see that much character development in the characters that we really want to see.
Yeah, what we really want to see is, in the trailer, we saw Ahsoka and Maul, we saw Ahsoka and Rex on the floor, and we saw Ahsoka saying to Anakin via hologram, I think, "Hello, Master, it's been a while." And when are we going to see that?
That better not happen like in the last episode.
It better be like a 2-hour episode if that's the case.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, we've been enjoying Clone Wars regardless. It's been great to see Ahsoka back on screen. It's been great to see bits and pieces of Anakin, and we love the Bad Batch. We are just hoping to get into the nitty-gritty of things for this Clone Wars final season. So that, I would say, wraps up our spoiler review for the Clone Wars Season 7 so far, and moving forward, we're going to be doing episodic reviews for the remainder of the season. So make sure you are subscribed, make sure that notification bell is on so you can watch all of our videos when it comes to Clone Wars and other things we have coming down the pipeline. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Bye.